shadows of the ancient scrolls. Whispers echo of forgotten souls. Sumerian words from ages past. Spells and secrets that forever last. Through the pages, the stars align.
All right, buckle up for a deep dive into the Necronomicon.
Ooh, sounds spooky.
Yeah, but not just any Necronomicon. We're talking about your version of it, the one you provided.
Ah, got it. A personalized edition.
Exactly. Think of it as like a guided tour through this, well, notoriously creepy book.
Right, a VIP pass to the weird side.
And joining me to navigate all this is, well, I say our resident expert on all things arcane.
Thanks for having me. I should probably emphasize right off the bat, the Necronomicon has a bit of a reputation.
For being dangerous. Yeah, I've heard the rumors.
It's not justy rumors. The text itself, like, it's full of warnings. So we're going to approach this with, let's say, a healthy dose of respect. And you should too, honestly.
Full disclosure, I'm already kind of freaked out. But also really curious. I mean, this book is shrouded in so much mystery. Is it real? Is it a hoax? People can't even agree.
Right, and we're not here to settle that debate. Our focus is on the content itself. And one thing that jumps out, it's the whole cosmology. The Necronomicon drops you right into this cosmic battle, ancient ones versus the elder gods.
So like beings that predate humans. They were fighting it out before we even existed.
Exactly, and the scale of it is just mind-blowing. Humanity is like this tiny blip on the radar, caught in the crossfire of, well, unbelievably powerful beings.
So it's terrifying, but also kind of humbling, like it puts things in perspective.
Absolutely, and it's not abstract either. The Necronomicon gives you the specifics. Like, it describes these entities, Cthulhu, Azathoth, Tiamat, in vivid detail.
Vivid and probably disturbing detail, knowing this book.
Yep, got it.
So let's talk about these ancient ones. Who are the big players, the ones that really make your spine tingle?
Well, Cthulhu is a good place to start. It's described as this monstrous, slumbering entity trapped beneath the earth, waiting.
Waiting for what?
To awaken,
Yeah.
and you do not want to be around when that happens. Then there's Azathoth, a blind, chaotic god of madness. Like, even reading about it is supposed to drive people insane.
Okay, I'm creeped out. And who's Tiamat? That name rings a bell.
Tiamat is often depicted as this monstrous dragon representing chaos and primordial power. Actually, it's interesting, some of these entities, like Tiamat, have roots in ancient Mesopotamian mythology.
So it's not just making stuff up. There are actual historical and cultural influences in this cosmology.
Exactly. And that's part of what makes it so compelling. It draws on these ancient beliefs and fears, weaves them into something both familiar and totally alien.
I'm starting to see why people get so fascinated by this, but it's not just to cosmic horror stories, right? I mean, people are drawn to the Necronomicon for its practical magic, too. Spells, rituals, that kind of thing.
You're right. And that's where the Mad Arab comes in. His story, the testimony of the Mad Arab, it's like the backbone of the Necronomicon, a first-hand account of someone who claims to have actually interacted with these entities.
Hold on, back up. Who is this Mad Arab, and why should we trust him?
His real name is Abdul al-Hazred, an 8th century Arab scholar and poet, called the Mad Arab because his quest for forbidden knowledge supposedly drove him insane.
So he's like the original Necronomicon fanboy who got a little too close to the fire.
Pretty much. But his story, even if exaggerated or fictionalized, it serves as a warning and maybe even a guide for those who follow in his footsteps.
Okay, so what exactly did he experience that drove him mad?
He claims to have traveled through the desert, stumbled upon the ruins of a lost city, and encountered, well, Cthulhu, the one we talked about earlier. He also claimed to have discovered the secrets of creating powerful talismans and even accessing other realms.
He hit the cosmic jackpot, but paid the price for it.
Precisely, and his story is woven throughout the Necronomicon, adding a layer of personal experience, a cautionary tale, to all the esoteric stuff.
Okay, so we've got this epic cosmic battle, terrifying entities, and a mad Arab running around having close encounters. And somewhere in all of this is practical magic.
Right, and that's where we're heading next. The Necronomicon isn't just describing these entities, it gives instructions on how to interact with them, how to summon them, bind them, even banish them.
So like a cosmic instruction manual, but with a high risk of
Complications.
yeah, complications,
Look
like
away.
ending up a drooling lunatic like the Mad Arab.
That's one potential outcome, yeah. But the Necronomicon also warns of other dangers. Possessions, physical harm, even attracting the attention of, well, entities you really don't want noticing you.
Okay, now I'm both spook and excited. So tell me about this practical magic. What kind of spells and rituals are we talking about? Give me the good stuff.
Well, for example, there's this ritual for creating a watcher. It's basically a protective entity that can shield you from harm. The Necronomicon also describes rituals for banishing entities, conjuring specific powers, even communicating with the dead. But it emphasizes these rituals, they're not to be taken lightly.
So it's not like a cosmic cookbook. You can't just whip up a spell whenever you feel like it.
Not at all. The Necronomicon stresses preparation, purification, precise execution. It's like performing surgery, but on the fabric of reality. One wrong move, and things can go very, very wrong.
I'm getting a sense of the gravity here. So we've got the cosmology, the Mad Arab's warning, and a glimpse at the practical magic. But there's more, right? Like, how do we even understand the structure of this book?
Great question. To understand that, we need to dive into this concept. The zones of power and the ladder of lights. Think of it like a map of the Necronomicon's universe.
All right, lay it on me. Zones of power, ladder of lights, what are we talking about?
The zones of power are basically different realms or dimensions, each one associated with a specific entity, a particular type of power. And the ladder of lights is a metaphor for the journey through these zones, a progression where each step grants you more power, but also more risk.
Like a cosmic video game. You level up, but face tougher monsters.
Exactly. And the Mad Arab's journey, that illustrates this perfectly. He climbed the ladder, gained knowledge and power, but ultimately he succumbed to the forces he invoked.
It's like a cosmic cautionary tale built into the book's structure. So we've got these zones, each with its own challenges and rewards. But how many are there? What kind of entities are we dealing with?
7 zones of power, each associated with a specific celestial entity and a corresponding planet. We start with Nana, the moon god, whose zone is associated with illusions, dreams. Then we move to Nebo, the god of wisdom and writing, whose zone unlocks, well, knowledge of the hidden arts and sciences.
Wait, so these are actual gods, the ones worshipped by ancient civilizations?
Right. The Necronomicon draws heavily on Babylonian and Sumerian mythology. It's like a fusion of ancient beliefs and cosmic horror all rolled into one.
My mind is officially blown. Okay, so Nana and Nebo. What other entities are we dealing with in these zones of power?
Well, as you ascend the ladder, the entities get more powerful, and honestly, more terrifying. There's Ishtar, the goddess of love and war. Her zone is a double-edged sword, beauty and allure, but also conflict, jealousy, even violence.
So it's like a cosmic soap opera with really high stakes?
Something like that. The Necronomicon suggests Ishtar's zone is a place of both creation and destruction. Love and war intertwined in a dangerous dance.
This is getting intense. Are these zones actually like physical places? Could you find them on a map?
That's a good question. The Necronomicon can be vague, but it offers clues, linking certain zones to geographical locations, historical events, even astronomical alignment.
Looks like a cosmic treasure hunt. But the treasure is, well, a zone of power.
In a way, yeah. But remember, these aren't your typical tourist destinations. The Necronomicon warns, don't trifle with these zones. They're inhabited by powerful entities, guarded by ancient forces.
Duly noted. I think I'll stick to exploring from the safety of my armchair. But what about the entities in these zones? We talked about Nana, Nebo, Ishtar. Who else are we dealing with as we climb this cosmic ladder?
Well, as you ascend, things get more intense. You encounter Shamash, the sun god. His zone is said to be a realm of fire and judgment, intense energy, unforgiving truth. Secrets are revealed, transgressions punished.
So like a cosmic courtroom.
You could say that. The Necronomicon suggests Shamash's zone is a place of balance, order, where the scales of justice are weighed with, well, cosmic precision.
I'm getting a headache just thinking about it. What about Nergal, the god of war and plague? His zone sounds particularly rough.
Nergal's zone is said to grant dominion over life and death. But it's also a realm of decay, disease, the unleashing of destructive forces. The Necronomicon warns that anyone who ventures there risks, well, succumbing to its influence, becoming an instrument of plague and destruction.
Yikes. So it's like a cosmic biohazard zone.
That's one way to put it. Nergal's zone is a reminder that the power offered in the Necronomicon, it can be creative and destructive. You got to tread carefully.
Okay, so this whole spectrum of power is represented in these zones, from illusions, knowledge, to love, war, judgment, even death. It's a lot. But why are we even talking about this? What's the point of exploring these zones, especially if they're so dangerous?
Well, for one thing, the Necronomicon suggests that understanding these zones, it's essential for understanding reality itself. It presents the universe as this multi-layered tapestry, with our world as just one thread in a much grander design.
So a cosmic map, but with a lot of scary blank spaces and warning signs.
Good analogy. And the zones of power, those are like key locations on this map. Places where the fabric of reality is thinner, where the boundaries between realms are more permeable.
Okay, I get the appeal. Ultimate adventure, exploring the hidden corners of the universe. But maybe an adventure best left to the imagination.
Perhaps. But the Necronomicon does offer practical advice for those who dare. It provides specific rituals, incantations, and even warnings about the dangers involved.
So it's like a cosmic travel guide, but the disclaimer reads, enter at your own risk. Serious injury or madness may occur.
Pretty much. But to be clear, the Necronomicon isn't a how-to manual for summoning demons or conquering other dimensions. It's a text to be studied, contemplated, and approached with, well, a healthy dose of respect and caution.
All right, I'm getting that message loud and clear. Respect the book, respect the zones, and maybe, just maybe, you'll survive the journey. But before we get too deep into the practical side of things, I want to go back to the Mad Arab. We talked about his experiences, but what does his story actually teach us about the Necronomicon itself?
The Mad Arab's journey, it's a cautionary tale, but also a roadmap. He demonstrates both the rewards and the dangers of seeking forbidden knowledge.
So he's like the original Necronomicon beta tester. He went through it all so we don't have to.
In a way, yeah. He explored the zones, encountered the entities, and ultimately paid the price for his, well, insatiable curiosity. His story is woven throughout the book, a reminder of the consequences of reckless ambition.
Okay, message received. Knowledge is power, but it can also be a curse. Let's shift gears for a minute. What about the actual language of the Necronomicon? Is this thing even in English?
The version we're looking at is in English, but it's full of strange words and phrases. Seems to pull from other languages, particularly Sumerian and Akkadian.
Like a linguistic puzzle box.
Exactly. And the Necronomicon, it provides some clues. Like, it includes a list of commonly used Sumerian words and phrases. Basically a crash course in Sumerian for, well, aspiring sorcerers.
I might need to brush up on my ancient Sumerian if I want to decipher this thing.
It couldn't hurt. And the Necronomicon emphasizes precise pronunciation. Like, even a slight error can have disastrous consequences.
It's like a cosmic spell checker with a really terrifying penalty for typos.
Right. The words themselves are believed to hold power. Using them incorrectly can disrupt the delicate balance of the rituals.
Okay, I get it. Language is important in the Necronomicon. It's not just about communicating ideas. It's about invoking forces, channeling energies, navigating the subtle realms of the cosmos.
Precisely. And that's why it often feels more like a mystical incantation than a straightforward text. It's designed to be experienced, not just read.
Okay, definitely not your average bedtime story.
Okay.
But let's get a little more tangible here. The Necronomicon talks about tools, right? Like the actual physical objects used in these rituals.
Right. It describes a variety of tools, each with specific purposes and ritualistic significance. For example, there's the Finza, a dagger crafted for sacrifice. Its blade has 3 jagged points, and the handle, well, it's made from human bone.
Okay, that's just creepy. Human bone. Really.
The Necronomicon is very specific about the materials and construction of these tools. It even describes specific symbols that should be carved on the handle. Adds a layer of, well, ritualistic precision.
Like a blueprint for a dark and dangerous craft project. But these tools aren't just for show, right? They actually serve a purpose in the rituals.
Exactly. The dagger, for instance, it's used not just for sacrifice, but also for inscribing powerful symbols and channeling magical energy. Each tool is like an extension of the sorcerer's will, a conduit for interacting with the forces described in the Necronomicon.
It's a mystical toolbox, but with a dark and dangerous twist. What other tools does it mention? Give me the highlights.
Well, there are various talismans and amulets, each designed for a specific purpose, like protection, healing, attracting good fortune. The Necronomicon gives instructions on how to create and empower them, using specific materials, symbols, incantations.
So like a cosmic Etsy shop, but with a much higher risk of supernatural side effects.
Something like that. But the Necronomicon emphasizes that the power of these tools, it lies not just in their physical form, but in the rituals and intentions behind their creation.
Okay, I'm seeing a pattern here. The Necronomicon is about understanding the interconnectedness of things, the relationship between the physical and the spiritual, the human and the cosmic.
Exactly. And the tools. Those are just one manifestation of that interconnectedness. They're physical objects imbued with spiritual significance, bridges between the mundane and the magical.
This is fascinating. Okay, so we've got the cosmology, the zones of power, the Mad Arab's cautionary tale, the practical magic, the language, the tools. What else is there to explore in this book?
Well, next we're going to delve into the specific entities that populate the Necronomicon's universe, starting with the two most infamous, Cthulhu and Yog-Sothoth.
Now you're talking. Cthulhu, the tentacled horror that haunts our nightmares. I'm ready to face my fears. Bring on the cosmic horror.
Here we are again in the dark side of the Necronomicon. As I said before, it's not obligatory for every chaos magic practitioner, but for those who use Necronomicon it's very important. Not because it's good or not because it's bad, but because it's both of them. The duality have a little space right here. So when you deal with chaos magic, it's very important you know about Necronomicon. So for those who follow Necronomicon, it's important to know the history around this book. This book may be a fiction. This book may be true. Maybe John Dee made this book long before H.P. Lovecraft. But it's not important as what you will reach with that content. So we follow this path. Here in
Chaos Magic Time.
All right, so we've kind of laid the groundwork here. We know the Necronomicon isn't just some random collection of spooky stories. It's got this intricate structure with the zones of power, the ladder of lights, not to mention a bunch of ancient entities with, well, way more power than I can even imagine.
Exactly. And we're about to take a closer look at those zones. Remember, there are 7 of them, each one associated with a celestial entity and a corresponding planet. We talked about Nana, the moon god, whose zone is said to grant control over illusions and dreams.
Right. And Nebo, the god of knowledge. But honestly, all these gods and planets, they're starting to blend together a bit in my mind. Is there a way to think about these zones that's a little less cosmic?
Well, think of each zone as offering a different kind of power, a different temptation, and of course, a different set of consequences.
Okay, I like that. Temptation and consequences, very human concepts, even if we are dealing with cosmic entities. So let's say you're an aspiring sorcerer. You're flipping through the Necronomicon looking for a power-up. What's on the menu in these zones?
Each zone is like a specialty shop for a particular flavor of magic. Nana's zone, for example, that might appeal to someone seeking control over illusions, maybe to deceive their enemies or influence people's minds.
So mind control. Sounds pretty tempting, but also super dangerous. What about Nebo's zone? What kind of power are we talking about there?
Nebo's zone, that's all about knowledge, hidden arts and sciences. It's the realm of forbidden knowledge, the kind that might grant you understanding of ancient languages, the secrets of alchemy, or even the ability to predict the future.
Okay, that one's pretty tempting too. Who wouldn't want to know the secrets of the universe? But something tells me there's a catch.
Of course there's a catch. Remember, knowledge can be a double-edged sword. The Necronomicon warns that some knowledge is better left buried, that seeking certain truths can lead to, well, madness or destruction.
Right? Like the Mad Arab. He got all the knowledge he could handle and ended up, well, mad.
Exactly. His story is a constant reminder. The Necronomicon is not for the faint of heart. You need a strong mind, a clear purpose to navigate its depths without losing yourself.
Right, so we've got mind control, forbidden knowledge. What other tempting powers do these zones offer?
Well, we can't forget about Ishtar, the goddess of love and war. Her zone is associated with beauty, allure, passion, but also conflict, jealousy, even violence.
So it's like a cosmic soap opera with high stakes and even higher drama.
Something like that. The Necronomicon suggests that Ishtar's zone is a place of both creation and destruction. Love and war intertwined in a dangerous dance.
It's getting intense. But I'm curious, are these zones actually physical places? Like, could you pinpoint them on a map?
That's a fascinating question. The Necronomicon is often vague on the specifics, but it does offer clues, linking certain zones to geographical locations, historical events, even astronomical alignments.
So it's like a cosmic treasure hunt, with the
Yes.
zones of power as the hidden gems.
In a way, yes. But remember, these aren't your typical tourist destinations. The Necronomicon warns that these zones are not to be trifled with. They're inhabited by powerful entities, guarded by ancient forces.
Okay, duly noted. I'll stick to exploring them from the safety of my armchair. But I'm still curious about the entities associated with these zones. We've covered Nana, Nebo, and Ishtar. Who else are we dealing with as we climb this cosmic ladder?
Well, as you ascend, the entities become even more powerful and, frankly, more terrifying. We encounter Shamash, the sun god, whose zone is said to be a realm of fire and judgment. It's a place of intense energy, unforgiving truth, where secrets are revealed and transgressions are punished.
So like a cosmic courtroom.
In a way, yes. The Necronomicon suggests that Shamash's zone is a place of balance and order, where the scales of justice are weighed with, well, cosmic precision.
Okay, I'm starting to get a headache just trying to imagine that. And what about Nergal, the god of war and plague? His zone sounds particularly unpleasant.
Nergal's zone is said to grant dominion over life and death, but it's also a realm of decay, disease, and the unleashing of destructive forces. The Necronomicon warns that those who venture into Nergal's zone risk succumbing to its corrupting influence, becoming instruments of plague and destruction.
Yikes. So it's like a cosmic biohazard zone.
That's one way to put it. Nergal's zone is a reminder that the power offered by the Necronomicon can be both creative and destructive. And those who wield it, well, they must tread carefully.
Okay, so we've got this whole spectrum of power represented in these zones, from illusions and knowledge to love, war, judgment, even death. It's pretty intense stuff. But I have to ask, why are we even talking about this? What's the point of exploring these zones, especially if they're so dangerous?
Well, for one thing, the Necronomicon suggests that understanding these zones is essential for understanding the nature of reality itself. It presents a view of the universe as this multi-layered tapestry, with our world as just one thread in a much grander design.
So it's like a cosmic map, but with a lot of scary blank spaces and warning signs.
That's a good way to put it. And the zones of power, those are like key locations on this map, places where the fabric of reality is thinner, where the boundaries between realms are more permeable.
Okay, I'm starting to see the appeal. It's like the ultimate adventure exploring the hidden corners of the universe, but also maybe an adventure best left to the imagination.
Perhaps. But the Necronomicon doesn't shy away from offering practical advice for those who, well, dare to venture into these realms. It provides specific rituals, incantations, and even warnings about the dangers involved.
So it's like a cosmic travel guide with a disclaimer that reads, "Enter at your own risk. Serious injury or madness may occur."
Something like that. But let's be clear, the Necronomicon is not a how-to manual for summoning demons or conquering other dimensions. It's a text to be studied, contemplated, and approached with, well, a healthy dose of respect and caution.
All right, I'm starting to get the message. Respect the book, respect the zones, and maybe, just maybe, you'll survive the journey. But before we get too deep into the practical side of things, I want to go back to the Mad Arab for a moment. We talked about his experiences, but what does his story actually teach us about the Necronomicon itself?
The Mad Arab's journey, it's a cautionary tale, but it's also a roadmap. He demonstrates both the potential rewards and the inherent dangers of seeking forbidden knowledge.
So he's like the original Necronomicon beta tester. He went through all the trials and tribulations so we don't have to.
In a way, yes. He explored the zones of power, encountered the entities that inhabit them, and ultimately paid the price for his, well, insatiable curiosity. His story is woven throughout the Necronomicon, serving as a constant reminder of the consequences of reckless ambition.
Okay, I'm definitely getting the message. Knowledge is power, but it can also be a curse. But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about the actual language of the Necronomicon. I mean, is this thing even written in English?
Well, the version we're looking at is in English, but it's full of strange words and phrases that seem to come from other languages, particularly Sumerian and Akkadian.
So it's like a linguistic puzzle box.
Exactly. And the Necronomicon itself provides some clues, including a list of commonly used Sumerian words and phrases. It's like a crash course in Sumerian for, well, aspiring sorcerers.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So you're telling me I might need to brush up on my ancient Sumerian if I want to decipher this thing.
It couldn't hurt. And the Necronomicon emphasizes the importance of precise pronunciation, warning that even a slight error can have disastrous consequences.
Like a cosmic spell checker with a terrifyingly high penalty for typos.
Right. The words themselves are believed to hold power, and using them incorrectly can disrupt the delicate balance of the rituals.
Okay, I'm starting to understand the importance of language in the Necronomicon. It's not just about communicating ideas. It's about invoking forces, channeling energies, and navigating the subtle realms of the cosmos.
Precisely. And that's why the Necronomicon often feels more like a mystical incantation than a straightforward text. It's designed to be experienced, not just read.
Okay, this is definitely not your average bedtime story. But let's move on to something a little more tangible. The Necronomicon also talks about tools, right? Like the actual physical objects used in these rituals.
Right. The Necronomicon describes a variety of tools, each with specific purposes and ritualistic significance. For example, there's the Finza, a dagger crafted for sacrifice. Its blade has 3 jagged points, and the handle is, made from human bone.
Okay, that's just creepy. Human bone. Really?
The Necronomicon is very specific about the materials and construction of these tools. It even describes specific symbols that should be carved on the handle, adding a layer of, ritualistic precision.
It's like a blueprint for a dark and dangerous craft project. But these tools aren't just for show, right? They actually serve a purpose in the rituals.
Exactly. The dagger, for instance, is used not just for sacrifice, but also for inscribing powerful symbols and channeling magical energy. Each tool is like an extension of the sorcerer's will, a conduit for interacting with the forces described in the Necronomicon.
It's like a mystical toolbox, but with a dark and dangerous twist. What other tools did the Necronomicon mention? Give me the highlights.
Well, there are various talismans and amulets, each designed for a specific purpose, like protection, healing, attracting good fortune. The Necronomicon gives instructions on how to create and empower these objects, using specific materials, symbols, and incantations.
So it's like a cosmic Etsy shop, but with a much higher risk of supernatural side effects.
Something like that. But the Necronomicon emphasizes that the power of these tools lies not just in their physical form, but in the rituals and intentions behind their creation.
Okay, I'm seeing a pattern here. The Necronomicon is about understanding the interconnectedness of things, the relationship between the physical and the spiritual, the human and the cosmic.
Exactly, and the tools are just one manifestation of that interconnectedness. They're physical objects imbued with spiritual significance, bridges between the mundane and the magical.
This is fascinating stuff. Okay, so we've got the cosmology, the zones of power, the Mad Arab's cautionary tale, the practical magic, the language, and the tools. What else is there to explore in this book?
Well, next we're going to delve into the specific entities that populate the Necronomicon's universe, starting with the 2 most infamous, Cthulhu and Yog-Sothoth.
Okay, now you're talking Cthulhu, the tentacled horror that haunts our nightmares. I'm ready to face my fears. Bring on the cosmic horror. All right, we're back, and I'm ready to, delve into the Necronomicon's Hall of Fame, or maybe Hall of Horrors is more like it. We're talking about the big names, the entities that, they send chills down your spine just hearing their names. Cthulhu, Yog-Sothoth.
Good place to pick up. These 2 entities, they're central to the Necronomicon's mythology, represent the sheer scale of cosmic power and, the terrifying indifference of the universe to humanity's fate.
Okay, so let's start with Cthulhu. Everyone knows this guy, at least by reputation. Tentacles, sleeping underwater, destined to wake up and, wreak havoc. What does the Necronomicon actually tell us about Cthulhu?
It describes Cthulhu as a being of immense power, a great old one, sleeking beneath the ocean in the sunken city of Arlia.
Arlia. That's,
Yeah, it's a mouthful. And it's not just a nap, either. We're talking deep, cosmic slumber, waiting for the stars to align for his awakening.
So it's not just a monster story. It's tied to this whole cosmic timetable, this idea that the universe operates on cycles that, we just can't grasp.
Exactly. And the Necronomicon suggests that Cthulhu's awakening, it'll herald a new age, but not one that's particularly favorable to humanity. We're talking chaos, madness, the reshaping of reality itself.
Yikes. Okay, I'm officially adding Cthulhu's awakening to my list of things to worry about. But what about Yog-Sothoth? That name always sounds so, otherworldly. What's his deal?
Yog-Sothoth is described as a being that exists outside of time and space, a gatekeeper to realms beyond human comprehension.
Okay, now I'm having trouble wrapping my head around this. Outside of time and space. What does that even mean?
The Necronomicon suggests that Yog-Sothoth, it's aware of all that has been, all that is, and all that will be. It's a concept that Well, it kind of defies our linear understanding of time.
So like a cosmic surveillance system. But instead of cameras, it's this entity that sees everything everywhere all at once.
That's one way to think about it. And the Necronomicon suggests that Yog-Sothoth can be a source of knowledge, but the price for that knowledge, well, it's often sanity itself.
Okay, yeah, I'm seeing a pattern here. Powerful entities, unimaginable knowledge, and that risk of madness is always lurking. Like a cosmic game of risk and reward, but with really high stakes.
We are and live here to enjoy life. Avoiding this means avoiding being ourselves. One of the ways people like to live is by learning more, and that's why I make these podcasts about books and about chaos magic. Here in Brazil, we are all educated to be cheap. That hurt education to be socially accepted, so I thought that the popular objection to chaos magic would be very intense. I was wrong. Here people are eager to learn and practice things that work for us Brazilians. It's not different outside of Brazil, but since English is not our native language, communication is a bit rigid. Anyway, I now make podcasts in English because just as many other people also liked them. I believe it is important to use these podcasts as a basis for at least Chaos Magic group to start discussions about them. However, I must point out that groups that are not practitioners of Chaos Magic will be very surprised when they practice these works that I recommended. And also I will recommend. Let's keep our hunger for learning strong here in Brazil or anywhere on the world. Hugs.
Let's get back to the practical side of things for a minute. How do these entities, Cthulhu and Yog-Sothoth, factor into the actual magic described in the Necronomicon?
The Necronomicon suggests that, well, sorcerers can tap into the power of these entities, but only with extreme caution, and only through specific rituals. It describes offerings, incantations, even sacrifices used to appease or channel their power.
So it's like a cosmic negotiation. A dangerous dance with forces that are way beyond our control, and one wrong step, you're in big trouble.
Precisely. The Necronomicon is very clear. Dabbling in this kind of magic, it's not for amateurs. It requires deep knowledge, meticulous preparation, and, well, a willingness to face consequences that might be beyond your comprehension.
Okay, I'm getting the message. Respect the entities, respect the rituals, and maybe, just maybe, you won't end up a gibbering lunatic scrolling cryptic symbols on the walls of an asylum.
That's a good takeaway. But it's important to remember the Necronomicon isn't just about summoning terrifying entities. It's about understanding the nature of reality itself, the interconnectedness of all things, and the hidden forces that shape our world.
Okay, so it's not just a horror story. There's like a deeper philosophical layer to it.
Absolutely. The Necronomicon describes a universe that is far more complex, far stranger than we can imagine. A universe where humanity is just a small part of a much grander cosmic tapestry.
So it's like a cosmic reality check, a reminder that we're not the center of the universe.
Exactly. And that realization, it can be both humbling and terrifying. But it's also liberating, in a way. It frees us from the limitations of our own limited perspective, opens us up to the possibility of something truly awe-inspiring.
Okay, I'm starting to see the appeal. It's like a glimpse beyond the veil, a peek into the hidden workings of the cosmos. But I gotta admit, I'm still a little apprehensive about the whole summoning ancient entities part.
And that's a healthy response. The Necronomicon itself emphasizes caution, respect, and a deep understanding of the forces you're dealing with. It's not a book to be taken lightly.
I duly noted. But let's move on to something a little less terrifying for a minute. The Necronomicon also talks about watchers, right? These protective entities that could be summoned to, well, watch over you.
Right. The Necronomicon provides instructions for creating and binding a watcher, describes it as a powerful ally that can shield you from harm, gather information, even carry out tasks in other realms.
So like a cosmic bodyguard and personal assistant all rolled into one.
That's a good way to put it. But the Necronomicon stresses that a watcher, it's a powerful entity and it shouldn't be taken lightly. It warns against abusing its power or attempting to use it for, well, selfish or harmful purposes.
It's like a cosmic pet with a very specific set of care instructions and the potential to turn on you if you mistreat it. But I gotta admit, the idea of having a supernatural bodyguard is pretty appealing, especially after all this talk of cosmic horrors and ancient entities lurking around.
It's understandable to seek protection when you're dealing with these kinds of forces, but the Necronomicon reminds us that true protection, it comes from knowledge, understanding, and respect for, well, the delicate balance of the cosmos.
Okay, I'm getting that. This book, it's not just about spells and rituals, it's a whole worldview, a way of understanding our place in the universe and the forces that shape our reality.
Precisely. And that's what makes the Necronomicon such a fascinating and enduring text. It challenges us to confront our fears, to question our assumptions, and to explore the boundaries of, well, what we believe to be possible.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, from the terrifying entities to the intricate cosmology, from the practical magic to the philosophical underpinnings. This has been, well, an incredible deep dive into the Necronomicon.
And it's just the beginning. The Necronomicon is a book that invites multiple readings, each one revealing new layers of meaning, new insights. It's a text that stays with you long after you've closed its pages. It prompts you to question, to explore, and to, well, delve deeper into the mysteries of the cosmos.
Well said. And for all of you listening out there, remember, we've only scratched the surface of your Necronomicon. There's a whole universe of knowledge, power, and wonder waiting to be discovered if you dare to venture further. Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
Spirits from beyond time. The Necronomicon is power untold, a path to the mystic, dark and bold. Open the book, let the rituals begin. Invoke the gods where the stars have been. With the seals we call through the veil so thin. The Necronomicon will guide us in. Through forgotten rites, the spirits will speak. In ancient tongues we shall seek the bleak transformation, the soul's release. The Necronomicon brings us peace. A narrow madman is mind unbound.